As we start our auditions for Nutcracker, it's also time to start our posters. So we're going to talk for a few minutes about some things that make a poster a great poster. Of course, great posters are not all the same, but they do have some things in common. Everything that is said here is meant to be an idea or a starting point. But all posters need to have a way of grabbing your attention. They need to have a way to send a clear message. What is the poster about? In our case, it's going to be about the Nutcracker. A clever design can make a poster memorable. It's good to use a simple, large picture. We're going to be working on a large size paper. It's important to fill the page, even if sometimes you're purposely filling it with space to make another element look small. Good use of color is important. You can use selective areas of bright or saturated color to bring attention. And it's always important to use a wide variety of values, that element of art that goes from dark to light, so that it's not bland and boring, so that it shows at a distance. Workmanship is always important. It needs to be neatly finished. Your coloring should be completed. It should leave little or no white space between your pencil marks. We want to look and see that an artist respected their own lines as they colored, keeping the colors where they belong. Sometimes we do purposely take them outside the lines, but it needs to be purposeful, not just look like somebody was having a scribble party. Even as you color, it's important to keep an eye on the directions that your pencil or brush strokes are making. A lot of times it's good to try to make them where your brush strokes, pencil marks don't even show. But if they do show, they probably shouldn't look like a bowl of spaghetti. In poster design, it's good to have a limited amount of text that clearly conveys your message. For the Nutcracker, the important things are going to be like the date, the time, the location. But we can put that on using the computer later. That is not a part of your responsibility. Your job is to make the picture for these posters. A good way to learn about poster design is to look at some posters. So I've selected some from different movies, musicals, album covers that I think have some elements that we can learn from. Saul Bass is considered one of the greats of movie poster designers. This is the design he created for Vertigo, and he used this kind of spirograph design to give a feeling of dizziness, which perfectly conveys the main message, well, not the main message, but one of the main themes of the movie. So as you're going along from this poster, you can think, what is a simple picture, because this is a simple picture, that also tells an important part of my story. The poster from Jaws is a little bit terrifying. I called it nightmare fuel. I love the way the artist Matt Hooper used the rule of thirds in placing the woman. The rule of thirds is a principle of art that says you divide your picture into 3 pieces vertically and horizontally. And if you'll put one of your main focal elements on those lines rather than right in the center, it gives it a more natural, more comfortable, pleasing look. He used that well on where the swimmer is positioned at about the 3rd way down on the page. But then he placed the shark smack in the middle. When you put an item in the middle like that, it brings a direct, sharp, in-your-face focus. And he wanted the shark to have that. So that conveyed that kind of scary feeling that he wanted for this poster. This leads us to the idea of thinking about your composition, where you place things on the page. You can always just draw a few rectangles on your page, kind of just generally sketch in. If I'm drawing Clara and the Prince, do I want her in an arabesque? Do I want her holding a nutcracker up or picking it out of a box? Put it in 2 or 3 positions and decide where you like it on the page before you move to your final design. This is a 1966 movie poster design that uses fairly simple silhouettes against a bright background. And that creates a really elegant design, and it grabs a lot of attention through the use of color. As you look at this poster, think, what are you going to do to draw attention to your poster and to your main element of design? Maybe color will be an element that you want to use effectively. This is a 1985 movie poster created by All City Media. It uses space in a different way. It has a fairly small figure of an astronaut, kind of low and off to the side. And the way it's using space is by creating a feeling of loneliness or emptiness around that figure. Sometimes the way you use your space isn't to fill it, but to leave it purposely empty. Another neat thing in this poster, and it's not probably something we can recreate by hand, is those concentric circles. This is a 1985 movie poster created by All City Media. It uses space in a different way. It has a fairly small figure of an astronaut, kind of low and off to the side. And the way it's using space is by creating a feeling of loneliness or emptiness around that figure. Sometimes the way you use your space isn't to fill it, but to leave it purposely empty. Another neat thing in this poster, and it's not probably something we can recreate by hand, is those concentric circles. This is a 1985 movie poster created by All City Media. It uses space in a different way. It has a fairly small. This poster is perhaps the most memorable poster I know of, and you may not recognize the name J.M. Flagg, but almost everyone recognizes at least some form of his 1917 recruiting poster, which features Uncle Sam just pointing straight at you with this intense stare. From this, I think what we can take away is that an action pose, such as pointing your finger, leaning over, lifting something, it may be a little more challenging to draw, but it will add a lot of interest to your picture. There's a second thing I want you to take away from this recruiting poster, and that's that Flagg was not afraid to find inspiration in other people's work. It's not to say he was exactly copying someone's work, but he took an idea from it, changed it, made it his own. And if you look here, you'll see that it's very strongly based on an earlier poster for the British recruiting, and it was by Alfred Leet, I believe is how you'd pronounce that name. It's a very strong resemblance, but he still took it and made it his own. Don't be afraid to take inspiration from other people, but always make it unique to you and what you're trying to express. Album art gives a lot of great examples of good things to do with graphic arts and posters. This is a fairly modern one. It was created in 2012 by Shepard Fairey, but he gave it a retro look. What I love in this one, in addition to the great retro look, is the way the spotlights lead your eyes straight to the Zeppelin. It's not always a spotlight. Sometimes it's the length of an arm or the lines within a chair, but there are a lot of lines in your picture, and depending on how you place them in your composition, you can use those lines to draw the reader's eye across your drawing and perhaps to a main point of interest within it. This piece of album art is one of my favorites. It's from Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. It was created by a team that I believe was led by Storm Thorgerson. And he chose it, even though it seems not that much to go with the songs on the album, he chose it because he wanted to pay tribute to the band's light show by using, of course, light and a prism. I love this one because it's so simple. A simple, clean design is easily identifiable at a distance, which makes it a very effective method of doing a design. Considering that we're just coming off of our own performance of Wicked, I couldn't ignore this awesome Broadway poster. It was created by a team of artists at one of the top advertising agencies in New York, which I probably won't pronounce right, but Sereno Coin. It's got a simple color scheme, it's got a simple design, and just a simple action, the raised hand of Galinda. And it shows the sharing of a secret between these two unlikely friends. And that little bit of a story conveys much of the essence of the show. I love this poster as an ending place because it has a whole lot of the ideas I've already discussed with you today. It shows an action, tells a story, it's simple, and then you know how I love my complementary colors. That splash of bright red on Elphaba's lips centers our attention. Complementary colors rock.